Internationalist Anarchist Declaration against war in Ukraine. Plebiscites to legitimize authoritarian regimes go back at least to Napoleon III in France, who reinstituted universal male suffrage in France in 1852 in order to hold a referendum to approve his seizure of power in December 1851. Anarchists at the time, few though they were, opposed Napoleon III's coup, and denounced the referendum as a sham, a vivid illustration of the anarchist Proudhon's dictum that universal suffrage is the counter-revolution. Today, the same techniques are still being used. Witness the referendum for Crimean independence from Ukraine, which is nothing more than a means to legitimize the Russian annexation of Crimea. Here I reproduce a recent declaration by anarchist internationalists against war in Ukraine, as the USA and its allies impose sanctions against Russia, and Russia continues to threaten to invade eastern Ukraine. Ukrainian anarchists. Declaration of internationalists against the war in Ukraine. War on war. Not a single drop of blood for the nation. The power struggle between oligarchic clans in Ukraine threatens to escalate into an international armed conflict. Russian capitalism intends to use redistribution of Ukrainian state power in order to implement their long-standing imperial and expansionist aspirations in the Crimea and eastern Ukraine, where it has strong economic, financial, and political interests. On the background of the next round of the impending economic crisis in Russia, the regime is trying to stoke Russian nationalism to divert attention from the growing workers' socio-economic problems, poverty, wages and pensions, dismantling of available health care, education, and other social services. In the thunder of the nationalist and militant rhetoric, it is easier to complete the formation of a corporate, authoritarian state based on reactionary conservative values and repressive policies. In Ukraine, the acute economic and political crisis has led to increased confrontation between old and new oligarchic clans, and the first used ultra-rightist and ultra-nationalist formations for making a state coup in Kiev. The political elite of Crimea and eastern Ukraine does not intend to share their power and property with the next in turn Kiev rulers and is trying to rely on help from the Russian government. Both sides resorted to rampant nationalist hysteria, respectively, Ukrainian and Russian. There are armed clashes, bloodshed. The Western powers have their own interests and aspirations, and their intervention in the conflict could lead to World War III. Warring cliques of bosses force us, ordinary people, as usual to fight for their interests, wage workers, unemployed, students, pensioners. Making us drunkards of the nationalist drug, they set us against each other, causing us to forget about our real needs and interests. We don't and can't care about their nations, where we are now concerned with more vital and pressing problems: how to make ends meet in the system which they founded to enslave and oppress us. We will not succumb to nationalist intoxication. To hell with their state and nations, their flags and offices. This is not our war, and we should not go on it, paying with our blood for their palaces, bank accounts, and the pleasure to sit in the soft chairs of the authorities. And if the bosses in Moscow, Kiev, Lviv, Kharkiv, Donetsk, and Simferopol start this war, our duty is to resist it by all available means. No war between nations, no peace between classes. Kras, Russian section of the International Workers' Association. Internationalists of Ukraine, Russia, Moldova, Israel, Lithuania. Anarchist Federation of Moldova. Fraction of the Revolutionary Socialists, Ukraine. Declaration supported by Workers' Solidarity Alliance, North America. An internationalist from USA. Anarcho-Syndicalist Initiative of Romania. Libertarians of Barcelona. Left Communists and Internationalists from Ecuador, Peru, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Uruguay, and Venezuela. Workers' Communist Initiative, France. Leicester Group of Anarchist Federation, Britain. An internationalist from Ireland. French-speaking Anarchist Federation, FAF. International of Anarchist Federations, IFA. Union Workers and Precarious of Clermont-Ferrand CNT8, France. World Revolution, Croatia. A Libertarian Socialist, Egypt.